So come around here. We've just popped this flat up to be in place, and look how gappy this is. This will often happen in a studio. A couple things cause it. Each flat is slightly at a square. I mean, they're not always perfectly square in the corners, but more times than not, there are humps in the studio floor and gullies in the studio floor, and when you end up putting flats together in this way, you end up with this kind of gap. So essentially, we just start at the bottom. We know that the tops are going to line up as best they can because we put the shims on the bottom. Okay, 0 is as good as it's going to get.
Yep.
And essentially all I'm doing is holding it in place.
2 feet?
2 feet's good. 4 feet, the new flat's got to come to me.
New flat to you?
Yeah. You'll probably do it with your hands.
Yep.
There, that's good. Is good. You're pretty good all the way up. Okay. And you can see down there, while I was talking, Mike added some shims in there just to make our lives a little easier. Thanks, JLS.
We're good?
Yeah. Let's drop down for a sec, Mike. It's really important when you build the flats that if they're 10 feet tall, you put them on 2 feet. And this is why. This one here is not on 2 feet, and that one there is not on 2 feet. Then there's no cross brace in the plug above the window, but that's fine because there's a toggle that we can tie into. Had this been out more than just about an inch, we would have had to add something in there to act as a stiffener. But right now we can go toggle straight across, screwing the flat of our whaler right up in there. Give me 1 sec.
Yep.
Okay. We good?
Yep.
So, come on over here, Adam. Thanks, Mike. Here, the toggle is almost flush with the top of the whaler. And I could put a screw close to the end to hit the center of the toggle, but what I've elected to do is go down a little low and shoot up into it. It allows for more meat on the top here, and there's less chance of it splitting as I screw into it. On joints, what you typically like to do is put a screw on either side of the joint, which I haven't done all the way along. And it's often nice to put one in the middle when there's actually something to tie into.
So if we look over here at it, here we've got screw on either side of the joint, screw on either side of the joint, and one in the middle. Okay, this is a small flat. Sometimes you might not even do that, but that's just sort of the habit that I've gotten into.
Okay. So these ones are put in the exact same way. And you can see, even with these last few minutes, if you go around the front, you'll see how straight this wall is in comparison to how how straight it used to be. What do you figure, 2 jacks, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Adam. So one of the things we did here that James and I just did automatically that's worth pointing out is the orientation of the 2 whaler. So we've got it so that our whaler is like this. We didn't put our whaler like that. Okay? Because our whaler is 2 pieces that are attached. You can't really see the seam very well in this piece. But that is 2.5 inches and that is 2.5 inches. And we want to make sure that when we put them on the flat, they're both the same depth. So that now when we put our jack up against them, our jack is going to be straight and not crooked. You can let go.
So the anatomy of a jack. None of these are really my preferred method. I usually like to have a whaler on the back. These have a piece on the back. You can see up top there, a piece of ply. There's a dado right up at the top that the piece of pine has been slotted into and glued in place. I do like that they've used a piece of plywood here. That's awesome. It splits less than pine, and it'll just simply last longer, and you can remove it. This part of the jack will last a lot longer. They've put corner blocks in here, and instead of one, they put 2 pieces on either side for the outrig on the hook, and there's a plate on the bottom. A lot of studios you can screw right in the ground, and if it's a standing set, you would screw it right into the ground. You wouldn't use weight. But this floor, I'm going to put as few holes in as possible. And yeah, so that, it's a jack. It's not the jack I would make, but it works perfectly fine. It's lasted, it's probably been around 20 years. This jack here, it's not a great jack. Again, it's got a piece of plywood on the back. So you can replace it. It's going to last longer than a piece of pine on the back of it. This one was a quarter of a sheet of plywood that they've cut all the holes into. And by the time you cut all the holes into and done all the roundovers, you could have built with the pine and the keystones. It would have been much less material. But I've seen tons of these. They work great. The one criticism, I have a couple criticisms. One is there's no plate on the bottom of this jack, and this hook is for a cinder block. So it's great, you just take a cinder block, you just drop it in, the cinder block sits right in. So it's great for cinder blocks, but for this, because this, although this seems to be a pretty good piece of plywood, this piece here I'd be afraid would break off. A lot of times they'll just have a little hook there, and there's not as much ply sticking out there, which I would be afraid over time of it breaking off. But it would not break off this way, but if it got a good ding this way, then there would be compromise and it wouldn't last as long. But again, this one's been around 20 years, so really it's not a big deal that I'm saying I like this over this. It works, it's been around a long time.